This is NBC Nightly News, reported by Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. There are hungry people in America, but there also are enough public and private programs to take care of them. That is the primary conclusion of the commission that President Reagan appointed to study hunger in this country. Others who work with the hungry strongly disagree with the commission's report. Tonight, Chris Wallace reports first on what the study said.
The task force did exactly what administration supporters and critics expected it to do. It backed the president's position on hunger. The panel concluded that while there are problems, we have not been able to substantiate allegations of rampant hunger. The commission said for the vast majority of low-income people, public and private food programs are available and sufficient for those who take advantage of them. The chairman of the heavily Republican group saw no need for new programs to undo Reagan budget cuts.
We don't share the opinion that the modifications in the programs and the budgets have hurt those people who are in the poverty group.
The commission recommended changes that by some estimates would cut food aid by more than $1 billion over 5 years. Among the proposals, increase the food stamp allotment by 1% and expand eligibility, but also penalize states for benefit overpayments and give states the option to take food aid as a lump sum. The Governors Association opposed this as a way to shift the federal responsibility to the states. The task force report runs counter to a number of recent studies that have found a serious and growing hunger problem across the country. Today, a nutrition expert said the commission was more concerned with supporting the president than with facts.
For this group that just spent $350,000 to carry on hearings that most of the members didn't even bother to attend, to say that they can't find substantiation of hunger is just a farce.
But this administration document indicates the White House will back the report. It shows the president calling for cuts of $636 million in his new budget in food assistance. Still, some White House officials are calling the task force a political disaster. In the past, the president has used commissions to diffuse hot issues. But the Hunger Commission has made the debate over hunger in America even hotter. Chris Wallace, NBC News, at the White House.
Bob Abernathy went to soup lines not too far from the White House in Maryland, and there he heard a much different story from the one told by the president's commission.
Marie Goodwin has 4 children, is on welfare, and gets $252 a month in food stamps, about 60 cents per person per meal. Every month, Marie's food stamps run out. After that, she gets private help.
To be truthful, we never have been what you would call hungry. Because when we run out of food, like now, right, I can always go to my church and get food.
Just outside Baltimore, Mrs. Jack Bell also gets help when her food stamps run out.
About 2 or 3 weeks, and then I have to call churches. But if the people didn't help us at church, at Christmas and Thanksgiving, we would be half starving.
Jan Hubolt is an advocate for the poor.
People are desperate at the end of the month. They are calling up looking for those emergency food centers.
The Maryland Food Bank is the principal source of food for Baltimore's growing number of private soup kitchens and pantries. Private companies donate surplus food, which the bank then distributes for 9 cents a pound. Carolyn Wood runs the food pantry at her church. She gets food stamps herself and tries to teach people like Marie Goodwin how to buy more economically.
I feel that if people plan carefully, that their food stamps would last.
But her church gives Marie Goodwin all the food she can carry. Some may be hungry, but Marie and many others are getting by because of private charity. Ann Miller of the Maryland Food Bank, however, thinks that's not good enough.
It's fine to say, yes, the private sector is doing a great job. They're feeding people. But is that really what we want as Americans? A line of people at soup kitchens and emergency shelters in order to be able to eat?
Miss Miller says Baltimore's charities are giving out 100,000 free meals and food packages every month. Bob Abernathy, NBC News, Baltimore.
UN Secretary General Perez de Cuellar said today that in Africa, hunger and malnutrition each year claim the lives of almost 5 million children. And he said that each year another 5 million children are crippled for life because they don't get enough nourishing food.
Coming up, Andrea Mitchell in Washington on the taping escapades of Charles Wick. Noah Nelson in Los Angeles, where the Twilight Zone goes to court. And Ken Bodie in Philadelphia on Jesse Jackson's not-so-secret weapons.
If you're in the dark about dandruff flakes, if your hair is dull, limp, stripped of shine, try drug-free Sassoon D shampoo. Sassoon D gently rinses away dandruff flakes, moisturizes the scalp, gives your hair marvelous body and healthy-looking shine. Drug-free Sassoon D shampoo and conditioner for dandruff flakes. I'm Vidal Sassoon. No one will know you're using it. They'll only know when you're not.
Here, Daddy.
Introducing the new and improved Fruit and Cereal Lover cereal, Post Raisin Bran.
This is delicious. The raisins are plumper.
Now, Post packs 3 packs of even plumper raisins in every box.
Flakes are bigger and crisper.
And bigger, crisper flakes, too.
Delicious.
Plumper raisins and crisper flakes from Post Raisin Bran, the Fruit and Cereal Lover cereal.
I knew you'd like it. What?
When you play telephone, if you can't hear everything, that's part of the game. But when you pay for calls, it's no fun. AT&T thinks that every long-distance call should sound as close as next door, and isn't that why you call?
Want to try it, too?
Calling anywhere, anytime, long-distance operators over a century of commitment. That's AT&T. The more you hear, the better we sound.
Reach out and touch someone.
Rita Lavelle, who ran the Reagan administration's toxic waste cleanup program, was sentenced to 6 months in prison today and fined $10,000 for lying to Congress. In passing sentence, the judge said that the former EPA official had violated her public trust. Lavelle did not say that she'd been made a scapegoat, but she did say this when she appeared.
This entire ordeal has been an unbelievable nightmare. I've been very, very disappointed, and I intend to appeal.
Charles Wick, the head of the U.S. Information Agency, said today that he was sorry for putting out what he called misinformation about secretly taping telephone conversations. Andrea Mitchell tonight describes Wick's efforts to diffuse the controversy.
On the advice of his lawyer and White House officials, Wick decided to apologize. First for taping telephone conversations, and then for saying he hadn't done it. The tapes and transcripts were delivered to the House Foreign Affairs Committee.
There are 81 transcriptions of taped conversations and notes from 83.
The notes were from conversations not taped, but monitored secretly by Wick's secretaries at his direction. The same documents were delivered to the Senate. And Wick issued this apology, saying his purpose was never to threaten or humiliate others, and that he hoped the public attention would lead other government officials to behave more thoughtfully. Although congressional staff members did not invite him to appear, Wick also showed up on Capitol Hill, hoping to end the controversy.
Look, I did a very dumb thing, and now I can see that. It's painful, but what else can I do but apologize to anybody I've offended?
Even before the apology, the president said the case was closed.
He has done a splendid job, and he's going to continue there.
Some committee members aren't satisfied with Wick's apology.
I doubt whether this controversy is going to disappear in the next few weeks.
I do believe this practice is one that should never have occurred, that should not be allowed to occur, that should be stopped immediately.
White House aides and congressional sources say there is nothing illegal on the tapes, but plenty that's embarrassing. Officials here say Wick won't be forced to quit as long as he has a friend in the Oval Office. Andrea Mitchell, NBC News at the White House.
Former Senator Harrison Williams was to start a 3-year sentence for his abscam conviction today, but at the last minute, a federal judge granted a 10-day postponement. Williams was given the extra time to get his personal matters in order. The Detroit Police Department now must promote blacks and whites on a 50-50 basis. The Supreme Court brushed aside Reagan administration objections and refused to rule against the affirmative action program. Detroit's Mayor Coleman Young said he was delighted.
Next, James Polk in Wyoming on who's siphoning oil out from under federal lands.
If you want high performance from your tape deck, get the high performance tape.
set. It's worth it.
Kellogg's Special K, a delicious way to help stay in shape.
You stretch, you bend, and kick, extend, and every day you start with the K, Kellogg's Special K.
High-protein, low-sugar Kellogg's Special K cereal now has bigger, crispier flakes to make your low-calorie Special K breakfast delicious. It's sure looking good on you.
Watch, wait, great shape. To stay this way, take to the K, Kellogg's Special K.
Okay.
Airborne has moved ahead of the pack and is challenging Federal to a race. Now, Federal starts this race with a big lead, but with a staggering load of packages to carry every day. At Airborne, we're just the right size to give you great service and move fast. So fast that Airborne makes most of their deliveries before 10:30 a.m. No wonder more people are switching to Airborne than ever before. And no wonder we say, watch out, Federal, here comes Airborne.
The biggest merger proposal in American business history, Texaco's $10 billion bid for the Getty Oil Company, was a hit today on Wall Street. Trading in those stocks of both companies was very active. Texaco closed up $1 a share. Getty was up 14 bucks a share. Meanwhile, America's taxpayers may be losing tens of millions of dollars because some oil companies aren't on the level. James Polk has been looking into suspicions that they may be tapping into federal public oil reserves by drilling on a slant.
This new oil well is being drilled within eyesight of the boundary of a federal wilderness study area in northern Wyoming, where antelope run wild on land owned by the U.S. government. NBC News has learned that federal prosecutors are investigating whether wells this close to federal lands are draining oil from beneath government property nearby, without the oil companies paying for it. A government study prepared for prosecutors puts the loss in oil and gas drained from beneath federal lands in Wyoming as high as $33 million a year. Over a decade of poor enforcement, that adds up to $1/3 of $1 billion. The Justice Department says this may be causing unjust enrichment to the oil producers at the expense of the American taxpayer. These oil wells outside Cody, Wyoming, are among 475 suspicious cases counted in a report to prosecutors. They are located on privately owned land, only a few feet away from federal land across this road. If a drilling company gets any oil from beneath nearby federal land, even accidentally, it is required to pay the government for it. But in some cases, officials are worried that companies may be drilling at an angle to tap into the oil beneath taxpayers' land, secretly and deliberately. The Bureau of Land Management has begun a nationwide investigation of how much is being lost and why.
It is a problem with collecting money, but so far we don't have any indication of fraud.
The BLM is so far behind in checking oil company records that it admits it simply does not know what's happening beneath the surface of the land.
How many years behind would you say you are in staying on top of the drainage problem? Perhaps 5 years.
Prosecutors call this a long and slow investigation and say they may never catch up with all the money the taxpayer has lost. James Polk, NBC News, Cody, Wyoming.
The power of the almighty dollar keeps on growing. On foreign currency exchanges today, the dollar's strength pushed the British pound sterling to its lowest price ever, $1.39. The French franc also hit a new low, and gold dropped to its lowest level in 17 months now. The director of the film The Twilight Zone and 4 of his assistants were in court today answering criminal charges that they were responsible for the deaths of actor Vic Morrow and 2 children. They were killed when a helicopter crashed during filming. Noah Nelson was in the courtroom when today's hearing began.
Defense lawyers showed videotape of the actual Twilight Zone accident, which killed actor Vic Morrow and 2 children, as part of their defense of director John Landis and 4 others who worked on the film. While the videotape played, Landis did not watch. The prosecution says debris from exploding huts during the filming brought the helicopter down. The defense says every precaution was taken.
The fact that these are movie makers is a movie case puts our clients in a predicament where when they create the illusion of danger on a film, it is used against them because they created the illusion as if it's a true replication of what really occurred out there.
Director Landis and 4 others who worked on the movie all pleaded not guilty to charges of involuntary manslaughter. The state contends that the lives of Morrow and the 2 children were carelessly endangered while filming the spectacular helicopter rescue.
At that moment,
what was theoretically a potentially dangerous situation was now an actually dangerous situation, and these occupants of the helicopter so informed John Landis.
Landis has so far refused to discuss the case, but his lawyers say he is under a great deal of emotional strain. The attorneys for Landis say they will prove with expert testimony that flying debris did not bring down the movie helicopter. The trial will likely last 4 to 6 weeks. Noah Nelson, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Nebraska running back Mike Rozier isn't even a college graduate yet, but he's taken a job with a hefty starting salary. The Pittsburgh Maulers of the United States Football League have signed him to a 3-year contract, reportedly worth $3 million. Rozier called the offer generous. It would make him the second highest paid player in pro football history, behind Herschel Walker of the USFL's New Jersey Generals. The Maulers are a brand new expansion team, and its owners are counting on Rozier to give them a run for their money.
Next, Dan Molina in San Salvador on the army that isn't fighting.
You know, I really love this shed spread.
I can see that.
That rich, buttery taste makes everything taste great.
Mm-hmm.
And shed spread has no cholesterol.
And lucky for you, 1/3 less calories than butter.
Meaning what?
Guess.
Now, shed spread is mankind's greatest invention.
Isn't that spreading it on a bit thick?
No, this is.
Look out, butter. Here comes shed spread. Rich, buttery taste, 1/3 less calories than butter, and no cholesterol. And now Country Crock from Sheds comes in smaller sizes, too.
Hey, a chip off the old crock.
Isn't it adorable?
Would you settle for cute?
I did.
The great cars of Europe priced far out of reach. Until now. Renault presents the road to affordability. Renault Alliance, acclaimed for its smooth, comfortable ride, with sedan comfort for 5 and their luggage, fuel efficient, fuel injected, European technology that's affordable. $59.59. Renault Alliance, built in America.
The one to watch, the one to watch, the one to watch.
Renault.
Love is better the second time around, if you're a coffee lover. When I gave up caffeine, I just knew coffee wouldn't be a pleasure anymore. Then I tried High Point decaffeinated. What flavor. I fell in love all over again.
You see, High Point decaffeinated starts with 100% of the whole coffee bean, brews it to the height of flavor and aroma, and captures that just for you.
Try High Point and fall in love with coffee all over again.
Now available for restaurants.
A spokesman for President Reagan said today that he would likely reject a recommendation of his Commission on Central America. The Commission is expected to recommend that continuing military aid to places like El Salvador be tied to progress on human rights, and the President reportedly disagrees. So apparently does Henry Kissinger, who headed the Commission. He is expected to file a formal disagreement with that part of the Commission's recommendations. Whatever happens on human rights, additional military aid won't do much good if the El Salvador Army doesn't have the discipline or the will to fight. Dan Molina went to El Salvador to check out reports that the Army is coming up short on both counts.
Key units of the Salvadoran Armed Forces have ignored principles of discipline and tactics that U.S. advisors have long been trying to hammer home. As a result, they've recently suffered major defeats, and new questions have been raised about whether the Army is willing and able to defeat the guerrillas. The guerrillas had little trouble overrunning the heavily fortified Army base in El Paraíso. The Salvadorans, says a military source, didn't have guards where they should have been. Nobody was on the alert. A battalion of troops just back from being trained by the U.S. in Honduras was not in the complex at the time. Officially, it said that they were out on an operation, but there's substantial evidence that many managed to sneak home to spend the holidays with their families. This guerrilla calmly kept watch on the garrison the day after the Army moved back in. These guerrillas were camped less than 10 miles away. Many of the troops assigned to guard this bridge are said to have been absent when guerrillas skillfully destroyed the massive structure. A military source says the morale of Salvadoran troops will obviously be affected by all this, but the setbacks aren't viewed as catastrophic. Nonetheless, the threat of a spreading breakdown in morale is widely discussed here. The Army itself shocked civilians and soldiers by quickly burying troops killed in the El Paraíso attack in this mass grave. Relatives say they could get no word on the fate of their sons and husbands. These people in the town of Tejutla reacted to it all the only way they could, with a procession to pray for peace. Guarding them well were the guerrillas who occupied the town. Dan Molina, NBC News, San Salvador.
Chinese Premier Zhao Zhejiang arrived in Washington tonight to begin a series of meetings with President Reagan and other officials. They'll be talking about continuing U.S. relations with Taiwan and trade agreements with Peking, among other things. Today, Premier Zhao, who comes from a 4,000-year-old civilization, rode through the streets of 350-year-old Williamsburg. Tonight, he went on to Washington, where there will be a state dinner in his honor tomorrow. Presidents Nixon and Carter, who opened the door to China and normalized relations, were not invited. It sometimes makes us feel a little guilty, the assignments that we send our foreign correspondents on. They live life on the edge, after all, going to the remote, cold corners of the world to bring back the story. Stan Bernard is just such a correspondent. And tonight, he shares with us the hazards of his profession.
It was a tough assignment, but someone had to do it. Someone had to come to Vaduz in the Principality of Liechtenstein, not far from Zurich, party until the early hours, and then wake up at the crack of 10 to ready himself for the big moment. 90 courageous journalists, most of them still photographers, came to capture an enriching picture. Many are freelance, and a very unusual shot of their quarry today might bring in $10,000 or more. The caravan of intrepid photojournalists then braved the snows of the high Alps to face the moment of truth. Most made it up the mountain and stood in the hushed silence of new-fallen snow. And they appeared. The Prince and Princess of Wales, who agreed to this photo session, but added a plea, leave us alone afterwards so we may ski and not worry about looking foolish while falling down, or whatever royalty does on a holiday. They posed politely along with their hostess, the Princess of Liechtenstein. The prince was working.
Despite the plea from Buckingham Palace for the press to now leave the royal couple alone for the remainder of their ski holiday, at least 3 London editors have said no. They'll keep their photographers here. The royal couple may be lonely without them. Stan Bernard, NBC News, Malboon, Liechtenstein.
This woman suffers from arthritis pain. I should know, this is my wife Betty. An arthritis pain formula really helps her.
I started taking APF long before Bob agreed to do the commercials. It's very effective.
Compared to regular strength pain relievers, APF is stronger. And APF cushions and protects your stomach with 2 buffers.
APF is wonderful.
For hours of relief from minor arthritis pain formula. APF is stronger, cushions and protects your stomach.
Chrissy! Chrissy! We're out of ink!
I know.
Well, didn't I tell you yesterday to have some sent from Seattle?
Yes.
Well, why isn't it here? Didn't you use Federal Express?
No.
Well, why not?
Because you told me to save a little money.
But it isn't here.
But I saved you money.
But we're out of ink. Chrissy, you call us a newspaper. Look at it. You call us a newspaper. That's an accident.
Next time, send it Federal Express. Why fool around with anyone else?
I'm Bryant Gumbel. Tomorrow morning on Today, China's premier meets with President Reagan, also actress Kelly McGillis, and day 2 of National Health Month. Join us tomorrow on Today.
Perfect landing, Ann.
Congratulations.
My first solo flight.
Oh, you did great. Come on, let's have some coffee.
Only half a cup.
Oh, I thought you liked fresh brewed coffee.
I love it. It's the caffeine.
Look.
Brim decaffeinated coffee? If it tastes this rich, fill it to the rim.
With Brim. Fill your cup to the rim with the richness of Brim.
It's just the way every high school graduate wants to return, a hero. And that's just the welcome that Lieutenant Robert Goodman received when he went back to his high school in Portsmouth, New Hampshire today. Lieutenant Goodman and his wife were high school classmates in Portsmouth. Goodman again today would not say whether he'll support Jesse Jackson in the Democratic presidential race. Jackson, the man who brought Lieutenant Goodman home, was campaigning in Detroit today, where he was snubbed by that city's black mayor, Coleman Young, who is a Mondale supporter. Jackson's campaign is not nearly as well organized as Mondale's, but he does have an impressive network in place, a network of pulpits and microphones. Here is Ken Bodie.
It's hard to tell from what you see and hear whether you're at a political rally or a church service.
Thou hast brought us to this day when the son of a slave can aspire for the highest office of the land.
And here's the visiting evangelist. Jesse Jackson campaigns in black churches all over the country, churches he's often preached in the past.
There is this need for somebody to fight for a moral tone in our nation.
Reverend Jackson has put together a network of church endorsements across denominational lines.
You would be surprised at the awesome power that a Baptist preacher has. We have captive audiences every Sunday morning.
This is the president of the National Baptist Convention, 6.8 million members. How many ministers?
Some 29,000 in more than 30,000 churches are behind the candidacy of the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Amen.
Jackson is relying on preachers to qualify him for federal matching funds. In several states, they already have. Atlanta Mayor Andrew Young, himself a minister, says black preachers teach salvation in the by and by and politics in the here and now.
Almost nothing happens in the black community without the support of the black church. And politics is at the head of that list.
Young also talked about another vehicle for reaching black voters, black radio, soul stations.
They reach people that you don't reach any other way. The DJs have a very skillful way of talking about an issue without actually getting into politics.
Add to that the local newscasts.
Preparations underway in Philadelphia for the arrival of Democratic presidential candidate Jesse Jackson.
Add to that the talk shows, the black community's cultural grapevine.
This is Mornings with Mary. I'm Mary Mason, and this morning...
While in Syria, Jesse Jackson was on a black talk show by transatlantic telephone. Well, what about the trip to Syria? What were those precinct captains in the pulpits preaching yesterday?
Now, you can like Jesse Jackson or dislike him, whatever way you want to like it. The man pulled off a feat, left his homeland and went to a strange country with a moral appeal, saying, God told me to tell you, let him go.
And what about the talk shows? This is WHAT in Philadelphia.
Is there a place in the administration, regardless to who the next president is, for a Jesse Jackson as a kind of a mediator?
Well, there's a place in the administration for Jesse to be president, but it's not...
Ken Bodie, NBC News, Philadelphia.
It's Nightly News for this Monday night. I'm Tom Brokaw. Good night from all of us at NBC News.
Coming up next on The Scene at 6, the Alexander administration unveils its budget for the next fiscal year. And the trial of 4 men charged with shooting Metro Councilman Guy Bates is over before it begins.
Also in the news tonight, a hearing is held for a woman accused of poisoning her husband in Dixon. And from Unit 4, Part 1 in a series on America's volunteer army. Is it really working?
These stories and more news coming up next on The Scene at 6.